We're all used to valuing things we can actually touch, like buildings or inventory or equipment. But what if a company's most important asset was completely invisible? Well, today we're going to unpack the world of intellectual property and figure out exactly how you put a price tag on a great idea.
So let me just ask you, when you think about some huge global company, what do you think is its most valuable asset? Is it their giant factories? The cash they have in the bank? Maybe their fancy headquarters?
Well, you might be surprised to hear that more often than not, the answer is something you can't see or touch at all. It's their ideas, their brand, their secret formulas. We call these things intangible assets, and there's a special, legally protected version of them called intellectual property, or IP for short.
Okay, so let's get right into it. What exactly is intellectual property? Let's break down what that really means.
The magic phrase here, the thing that makes it all work, is legal protection. See, an idea is really just an idea until the law steps in and gives it special rights. That legal shield is what turns a simple concept into a seriously valuable asset you can buy and sell. It's what separates real IP from other fuzzy things like, say, good company morale.
Right, so IP isn't just one big thing. It actually comes in a few different flavors, and each one has its own set of rules and its own kind of protection. Let's run through the big three. First up, we've got patents. Think about some game-changing new technology, right? Like a new kind of EV battery or a life-saving medicine. A patent doesn't protect what it looks like, it protects how it works. And it gives the inventor a 20-year monopoly from the day they file. I mean, that is a huge head start in any business.
Next up, trademarks. This is all about your brand identity. That iconic swoosh on a pair of sneakers, the golden arches you see from the highway, the name on your favorite can of soda. Yep, those are all trademarks. They're what separate one company's stuff from another's. And here's the cool part. Unlike a patent, as long as you keep using and renewing it, a trademark can literally last forever.
And finally, we have copyrights. Now, this distinction is super important. Copyright protects the expression of an idea, not the idea itself. So it protects the actual words in this script, or the specific notes in a song, or the lines of code in an app, but it doesn't protect the general idea of, say, a romance novel. And this protection lasts a long, long time, the creator's entire life plus another 50 years.
Okay, so we have a handle on what IP is, but that brings us to the real puzzle, the billion-dollar question that keeps accountants and investors up at night. I mean, really think about that. How do you actually calculate the monetary worth of a logo, or a patent for a new gadget, or a piece of software? It seems impossible, but believe it or not, there are some pretty structured ways to do just that.
There are basically three main ways to look at it. The cost approach is pretty simple. What would it cost you to rebuild this thing from scratch? Then you have the market approach, which is like real estate. What have similar patents or brands sold for recently? But honestly, the one that gets used the most, especially for big-time IP, is the income approach. It focuses on one simple question. How much money is this thing going to make in the future?
Let's dive deeper into one specific income-based method that's a go-to for the pros. It's called the relief from royalty method, and it's a really clever way of thinking about value.
The logic here is kind of genius. Imagine if you didn't own your company's famous brand name. Well, you'd have to pay someone else a fee, a royalty, just to use it. But since you do own it, you are relieved from having to make that payment. So the value of your IP is basically the grand total of all those payments you get to avoid.
So here's how it works, step by step. First, you try to predict all the future sales that are tied to that IP. Then, you figure out a normal royalty rate for that industry. Let's just say it's 5%. Then, you calculate what 5% of all those future sales would be. That's your hypothetical savings. And finally, you figure out the value of all those future savings in today's money. And boom, that's the value of your IP. Okay, I know this all sounds a little theoretical, so let's make it real. Let's look at a case study that shows just how mind-bogglingly huge these invisible numbers can get.
We're going to hop in the time machine and head back to look at the Gillette company. You know, famous for its razors, its pens, its batteries, all products that were protected by this huge wall of patents and trademarks.
Now, check this out. When analysts broke down all of Gillette's assets, the physical stuff, the factories, the machines, all of that, it barely added up to 14% of the company's value. The vast majority of it, over 76%, was tied up in its intellectual property. Wow, that really shows you the power of a brand. So what was that 76% worth in actual dollars? Get ready for this. $44.7 billion. That's the price tag the market put on the names Gillette, Braun, and Oral-B, and on the technology behind things like the Mach 3 razor.
And this brings us right back to that valuation method we were talking about. This analysis basically meant that the market believed Gillette's IP was so powerful that it was worth a pre-tax royalty rate of 14% on sales. I mean, that is an incredibly high rate, and it just shows how absolutely dominant their brands and tech were at the time.
So, what's the big takeaway here? It's that even though we have all these rigorous methods and formulas, there's still a lot of judgment that goes into it. It's really a mix of hard numbers and, well, informed guesswork.
And that brings us to this perfect quote from the source material, which really hits the nail on the head. Valuation is an art and not a science. No matter how many spreadsheets you have, valuing an idea is always going to require a bit of forecasting, a bit of judgment. It's a field that needs both a calculator and just a dose of common sense, reminding us that in our world today, the most valuable things are often the ones you can't even hold in your hand.